Welcome to Fantasia, home of the Melodious. My name's Azallea, and today, gonna be bringing you guys another update to my SPYRAL Lyrilusc deck. So, just a little disclaimer before we begin that this deck is not updated for the new Link format. I don't believe that we should be playing under Link format with only one generic Link monster in the form of Decode Talker, and so because of that, I'm waiting for, some of the new sets to release which carry some more generic Link monsters for us to use before I fully convert to that format. So anyway, without further ado, let's just jump right into this. So, starting off, we're playing 3 copies of Lyrilusc Turquoise Warbler. Now, Turquoise Warbler, if you control no monsters, you can special summon her straight from your hand, which is great for starting off all of our plays, and puts another level 1 body on the field. And then you can actually special summon one Lyrilusc monster from your hand or graveyard, which is really nice, actually, for mid to late game shenanigans. The other monsters that we play are 2 copies of Lyrilusc Sapphire Swallow. Now, Sapphire Swallow, I only play 2 copies because of her summoning condition, which requires you to control a winged beast type monster. And if you do, you can special summon her and one level 1 winged beast monster from your hand. And then if she's used as an XYZ summon for a wind XYZ monster, you can actually target one Lyrilusc monster in your graveyard and attach it to it as an XYZ material. So that's actually pretty good. I really hope that we get more generic rank 1 XYZ monsters, because as of right now, it's only the Lyrilusc monsters, and that kind of sucks, especially because we still don't have the other XYZ in the game yet. She hasn't been imported, so really we only have one choice to go with right now, and that really limits our options. Okay, so next off, we're playing 2 copies of Lyrilusc Cobalt Sparrow. Now, Cobalt Sparrow is phenomenal because she is actually a searcher, so if this card is special summoned, you can add one level 1 Winged Beast type monster from your deck to your hand. And then, of course, if this card is used as an XYZ material for an XYZ summon of a Wind XYZ monster, you can actually give that monster the targeting protection, so your opponent can't target it with card effects. So that's always really nice. This is my Lyrilusc little core right there that I use. It's pretty good, it's pretty effective, and I really do like it. I don't really think you should bump the Sapphire Swallow and the Cobalt Sparrow up to 3 yet, because they don't get any effects. It's actually really difficult to trigger their effects in this deck right now. Maybe once we start getting, maybe once we get Recite Starling, we'll be able to search them out and then be more consistent with those plays. But for right now, this deck actually falls back on the SPYRAL archetype for a lot of their support. So going into that, we're playing 3 copies of SPYRAL Super Agent. Now, Super Agent, you can actually declare one type of card, monster, spell, or trap, and look at the top of your opponent's deck. And that's really nice. Gives you some intel on what they're doing and what they're running. And then if you declare it correctly, you can special summon this card, and then you can target one spell or trap card in the field that your opponent controls, and then you can destroy it. So that's always really nice for clearing back row out. And it's a level 4 monster, so it opens up some rank 4 plays as well. Okay, so next off, we're playing 3 copies of SPYRAL Quick Fix. Now, I really love SPYRAL Quick Fix. It's probably the most important card in this deck. So, if this card is no more special summon, you can add one SPYRAL Gear card from your deck to your hand. So, it's a searcher, and it's not limited to once per turn. And if this card is in your graveyard and you control SPYRAL Super Agent, you can actually discard one card and special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. But you can bypass that banishing cost, I guess you could say, by actually using it as overlay material. So if you detach it from an XYZ material, it'll actually go straight to the graveyard instead of getting banished. And because we're playing Lyrilusc and all that, you have a lot of rank 1 synergy, so you can make a lot of rank 1 plays like Sylvan Princess Sprite or Ghost Trick Dullahan and things like that to give you some more offensive power, because these level 1 SPYRAL monsters are relatively weak. So yeah, moving on, next off we're playing 3 copies of SPYRAL Gear Drone. Now, SPYRAL Gear Drone is another really great card in this deck, because if you normal special summon this card, you can look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, and then you can place them back onto the top of the deck in any order that you want. So you can potentially just sabotage your opponent's deck. And if you haven't realized the synergy yet, Drone works really well with Super Agent, because you can stack your opponent's deck with Drone, call it correctly with Super Agent, and then pop a back row that they have, while putting them back a turn, hopefully, with Drone's effect, stacking something useless on the top. But yeah, and then during either player's turn, you can actually tribute this card from your field, target one SPYRAL monster you control, and it gains 500 attack for each card your opponent controls. And this attack gain is actually permanent. So if you use this attack gain on like your Super Agent, he'll be gaining a lot of attack points, and he'll be staying at a really high attack value. And because SPYRALs actually have ways to protect the super agent really well, you just have a massive beat stick that your opponent has a really difficult time getting rid of, unless, of course, they have a kaiju, but kaiju's out everything, right? But anyway, this card has another effect where if it's in your graveyard, you can actually banish it and one SPYRAL card from your graveyard, target one SPYRAL super agent in your graveyard, and add it to your hand. So he's pretty useful, and I really like it. Of course, this is a SPYRAL gear card, so it's searchable by quick fix, which is really nice. Okay, the other SPYRAL cards that we run, you guys in the comment section in the last video wanted me to add the new SPYRAL support into this deck, and I've definitely tried including it, and here we go. So we play 2 copies of SPYRAL Gear Last Resort. Only play 2 copies of this because it's, of course, searchable by your quick fix, and it's also searchable by the field spell. Every SPYRAL monster is searchable by the field spell, so that's why I only run 2 copies. You don't really need any more than that. The effect is that you can target one SPYRAL monster you control and equip this monster from your hand or your field to that target, and when this card is equipped to that monster, you can actually it cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects, and your opponent cannot target it with card effects. So it's like just all around protection, which is phenomenal. Also, once per turn, if this card is equipped to a monster by this effect, you can send one other card you control to the graveyard, and the equipped monster can attack directly this turn. So again, if you buffed your super agent here with your drone, you can actually use Last Resort, equip it to the super agent, and then attack your opponent directly for a ton of damage. And it's absolutely phenomenal for clearing out, ending the duel just by smacking them for maybe like 3,000, 4,000 damage, right, out of nowhere. And because Lyrical Lucinia specialize in just poking and doing chip damage, you can actually really easily get them into the range where you can actually use Last Resorts to go for game. So that's always really nice, and I really do like that synergy. Thank you guys for recommending these new cards to me. Okay, next off, we're playing 1 copy of SPYRAL Sleeper. This is like the pseudo-boss monster of the deck. I replaced the Lastrix in this deck, the Raid Raptor Lastrix, to go into the Ultimate Falcon, to go into the 7 Sins. And because of that, I replaced that with the SPYRAL Sleeper. Now, SPYRAL Sleeper, it says that this card cannot be normal summoned or set, and it must be special summoned from your hand by banishing 3 SPYRAL cards in your graveyard. And then it cannot be special summoned by other ways, but once per turn during either player's turn, you can target 1 SPYRAL card that you control and up to 2 cards your opponent controls and destroy them. So this is very much like a was it Icarus Attack, the trap card for the Winged Beast type monsters, where you tribute a Winged Beast type monster and destroy 2 cards your opponent controls. So it's like a 2 for 2, except when SPYRAL Sleeper is equipped with Last Resort protects this from destruction. So you can target Sleeper, Sleeper will be protected and you won't be destroyed, and you get to just destroy 2 of your opponent's cards for free every single turn. So this is phenomenal for clearing out back row, phenomenal for stopping your opponent's combo plays, and just really, really oppressive card that can shut them down, which is really nice because we actually need more disruption, because Lyrical Lucinias kind of lack that ability. Okay, and then the unfortunate thing is that if this card is destroyed by battle or by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you have to destroy as many cards you control as possible, and if you do, summon 1 SPYRAL Super Agent from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So the drawback's kind of bad, but then if you are protected by your SPYRAL Gear Last Resort, and if your Last Resort is protected by, let's say, your field spell, then you should be fine, and your opponent, the only way they're really going to get rid of it is by something that doesn't destroy or doesn't destroy by battle or by card effect, right? So they have to do some roundabout way or use a kaiju or something, and if they do that, it doesn't trigger Sleeper's effect, so you're going to be safe from your board wipe. Okay, next off, we play 3 copies of Turbo Booster. You could play Jester Comfit if you want. Jester Comfit is getting a reprint soon, so if you guys are thinking about getting it, do not get it yet. It will be getting a reprint in a future structure deck, so keep an eye out for that. But you can definitely run Jester Comfit if you want. I just run Turbo Booster for its machine type, because I do run Machine Duplication, so Machine Duplication can work with Quick Fix, Drone, and Turbo Booster, so that's the reason why I run this. Okay, next off we run 1 copy of Global, which is an Earth Tuner and a level 1. So Earth Tuner with the SPYRAL Super Agent allows you to make Naturia Beast, which is really nice. And of course, last but not least, I play 1 copy of Max C to deter my opponent from going off and just get some additional draws if they do. So yeah, that does it for the monster cards. Next off, we're going to go into the spell cards. Okay, so for the spell cards, starting off, we're playing 3 copies of Spiral Resort, the field spell card that I've been talking about over and over when talking about the monsters. So this card, your opponent cannot target any other Spiral cards that you control with card effects, which is phenomenal because this also protects your last resort when it's equipped as an equip card. So your opponent can't just like MST or Twin Twister it, they actually have to get rid of this first. And then also once per turn, you can add 1 Spiral monster from your deck to your hand, and then once per turn during your end phase, you have to shuffle 1 monster from your graveyard into the deck or destroy this card. Now, the great thing is that this cost is actually really good because you can actually shuffle back hand traps such as your Max C. You can also shuffle back things like your extra deck monsters. You get, instead of making Digesto Emerald and putting things back, you can actually just run on the field spell, and at the end of each of your turns, you can shuffle back your Ghost Rig Dullahans or Princess Sylvan Sprite. Anything that you really need to go off on your next turn for, you can do that. So it's really good. Okay, next off, we play, of course, 3 copies of Terraform because Spiral Resort is not a once per turn effect. So because Spiral Resort is not once per turn, you just want as many of them as possible to see them so you can just continuously search and get all your combos going. Next off, we're actually playing 3 copies of Spiral Gear Big Red. Now, Spiral Gear Big Red is a monster reborn for the archetype, so you activate this card by targeting 1 Spiral monster in your graveyard, and then you special summon it. And if you do, equip this card to that monster, and it cannot be destroyed by battle. But the unfortunate thing is you can only activate 1 of these per turn, of course, or else it'll be broken. But this is a phenomenal card to have because you can easily search it out with Quick Fix, and of course, you can always banish all these like spell cards for your Spiral Sleeper because they are Spiral cards. The next Spiral card that we play is 1 copy of Spiral Gear Fully Armed. Now, this is a pretty big blowout card that not a lot of people expect. So it says you can equip to a Spiral Super Agent, it gains 1000 attack, and if it destroys your opponent's monster by battle, you can banish both the opponent's destroyed monster and 1 other card your opponent controls. And then when this face-up card on the field is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Spiral Super Agent in your graveyard and special summon it. So that's always phenomenal to have as removal. It's basically like a Whiptail, but ×2 because you get to banish 2 of your opponent's cards, which is really nice. And then it makes your Super Agent to a bulky 2900 attack, and of course with Drone you can boost it even higher. And like I said, with Fully Armed, or Last Resort, sorry, if you have Last Resort equipped to your Super Agent as well, you can just swing directly at your opponent's life points, so that's always phenomenal. Okay, next off, one of the best cards in the deck, actually, Machine Duplication. 3 copies of these because you can use them, like I said, on your Quick Fix, on your Drone, and on your Turbo Booster if you're running that. So Machine Duplication really good. It allows you to get all 3 Quick Fix searches immediately on your first turn, which is nice because then it allows you to set up for your future plays and allows you to combo off really well and set up multiple rank 1 monsters so that you can go for a lot of plays. And of course, with the new Spiral Link monster being announced, this card is absolutely phenomenal because if you use this on Quick Fix, not only do you get your searches, but then you can immediately make your Link monster and then continue going off from there because it gives you 2 extra slots on your main monster zone that you can summon your extra deck monsters to. So you can, of course, continue to make rank 1 stuff and spam it onto the field even under Link rules. Okay, the next card that we play, 3 copies of Instant Fusion. Now, you might be wondering, okay, Instant Fusion, why are you playing this because Norden's gone? We actually have a lot of level 1 targets in this extra deck, and I'll get into that in just a bit when we get to it. Next off, we play 1 copy of Foolish Burial. This is mostly used to send Global from the deck to the graveyard, but you can also send whatever you need from the deck to the graveyard. You can send some extra Spiral stuff for your Sleeper. You can send your Drone to recover your Super Agent. You can send Quick Fix to summon it if you already control Super Agent. And you can even send something like a Cobalt Sparrow or something. And then when you summon your Turquoise Warbler from your hand, you can special the Cobalt Sparrow from your graveyard, grab a Search, then make a rank 1. So it's just very, very versatile card, and I highly recommend you try it out. Last card that we play, of course, being a rank 1 deck, you have to play 1 for 1. 1 for 1's so great in this deck because, if you draw into like an extra Super Agent or something you don't really have any use for, just discard it and you can special something from your deck. So normally you can special summon something like a Glow Bulb or something and go for your Naturia Beast plays. You can also summon Cobalt Sparrow, grab a Search, go for rank 1s. It's just a really versatile card and I highly recommend it. So yeah, anyway, that does it for the spells, and that does it for the main deck. It should be 42 cards. So next off, we're going to go into the side deck. Okay, so for the side deck, starting off, we're playing 2 copies of DD Crow. Now, DD Crow, the reason I play this card is because it is actually searchable by your Cobalt SPYRAL because it's a level 1 Winged Beast type monster. So, being able to search out Disruption is always really nice. Next off, we play additional hand traps. We play 3 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, probably the best hand trap in the game right now. And the reason why I'm citing this is because I didn't have space in the main deck, because the spirals actually take up a lot of space, but also because yeah, it depends on your matchups. It's not useful against everything right now, especially if you're playing against Rogue. It could be a little less useful than, say, meta decks against like Zodiacs or True Dracos if you're playing against those. But yeah, anyway, moving on, we were playing actually 3 copies of Denko Sekka. Recently got a reprint, so it's really nice and affordable if you want to pick them up. Definitely recommend you pick them up now before they start going up in price. But 3 copies of Denko Sekka, the reasoning behind this is because we don't play any traps, and we rarely set anything in this deck. So because of that, if you can summon a Denko Sekka and lock out your opponent's back row, then you can start going off with your super agents and, you know, pop all their back row and everything like that, and just be safe about it. You don't have to worry about your monsters getting negated and all that good stuff. Your sleeper will also be really great because then your sleeper can also pop a lot of back row without having to worry about your opponent, you know, using a Solemn Strike and then destroying your sleeper and your sleeper nuking your field and all that good stuff, right? So yeah, that's the reasoning behind that. Next off, we play 1 copy of Raigeki for the field clears, just in case you're going second. I don't run the Dark Holes because I'm running Denko Sekkas, which just locks out your opponent's back row. So monsters are kind of easy for you to deal with in this deck because of some things like Fully Armed, which allows you to just banish multiples of them on the field. Next off, we're playing 3 copies of Twin Twisters because we like to clear some back row, especially if you're going second. You know, you can't establish your sleeper first turn, so you can go for the Twin Twisters in that regard, just clear things out, make it easier for you. And then last but not least, I still like to play 3 copies of Harpy's Featherstorm. People don't expect this at all in this deck, so what you can actually do is just, if you don't have Winged Beast type monsters, you can use your Spiral monsters and make your rank 1 Lyrical Lucinia Assembled Nightingale. And because of Assembled Nightingale's wind attribute, wind and Winged Beast type, you can actually activate Harpy's Featherstorm when it's set and just lock out all of your opponent's monsters' effects for the turn. So not only do you protect yourself from a lot of damage with Assembled Nightingale, but you also shut down your opponent basically for the entire turn. So yeah, that does it for the side deck. Next off, we're going to go into the extra deck. Okay, so for the extra deck, starting off, we're playing 2 copies of Lyrical Lucinia Assembled Nightingale. Now, Nightingale gains 200 attack for every XYZ material that's attached to it, which is really great because in Spirals, you can easily swarm the field with level 1 monsters to help boost her attack. And then she can also attack directly at your opponent's life points, and she can attack each battle phase up to a number of times that she has XYZ materials attached to her. So if she has 5 XYZ materials attached to her, she will have 1,000 attack, she can attack 5 times, and she can attack your opponent directly. So that's 5,000 direct damage, which is absolutely phenomenal, especially coupled with the fact that Spiral Last Resort allows our Spirals to attack directly as well. So we have a lot of ways to just apply chip damage to your opponent and put them on a clock so they have a limited number of turns to try to overcome your field. And that along with the pressure from your Spiral Sleeper that's continuously destroying and disrupting opponents' plays really hinders what they can do. So I really like this build. Next off, we play 1 copy of number 54, Lionheart. Now, Lionheart is like kind of like a replacement for Recite Starling, except Lionheart cannot search like Recite Starling can. But Lionheart does have the effect where you could detach an XYZ material, and when this card battles, your opponent will take the battle damage that you would have taken instead. So it's kind of nice to finish games off, especially if they have a really big beat stick that you just can't get over. You can just start turning it against them, which is really nice. Okay, next off we play 1 copy of Ghost Trick Dullahan. Dullahan is really great for just lowering our opponent's monster's attacks. It cuts their attack in half, which is really good because if you couple this with a Spiral Super Agent, a Super Agent with Dullahan can pretty much run over any relevant monster in the game right now. So really easy for you to just clear out problem cards. Next off, we're playing 2 copies of Sylvan Princess Sprite because this card is so essential to this deck. It's so nice to have this card. So if you don't know what this does, you can actually detach 1 XYZ material from this card, excavate the top card of your deck, and if it's a spell or trap card, you can add it to your hand. Otherwise, you'll send it to the graveyard, but that doesn't really matter because most of our SPYRAL monsters benefit from being in the graveyard anyway, because they have alternate effects, or you can just bring it back with your big red, or you can just shuffle anything that you want back. Let's say you accidentally excavated the Maxi, you can shuffle it back with your SPYRAL Resort. So it's not a huge loss. This is just a nice way to potentially draw into like your instant fusions, machine duplications, whatever you need at the time. You can just hopefully get it. It's also really nice. It's also a really good feeling if you excavate a glow bulb with this card. So you have your glow bulb and you can go for your Naturia Beast plays, and that's just phenomenal. Okay, so next off, we actually play 1 copy of number F0 Utopic Future. Now, this card requires 2 XYZ monsters with the same rank except number monsters, which is basically everything here except Lionheart. But since Lionheart's more difficult to summon, you probably won't be using as material for this anyway. And then if this card battles your opponent's monster, neither player takes any battle damage. And then at the end of the damage step, if this card battled it, you can actually take control of your opponent's monster until the end of the battle phase. So this is really nice, again, to utilize your opponent's monsters against them. And you can start seeing a trend here with how this deck plays. It's just a really annoying deck to play against, but it's really fun to actually play. Utilizing your opponent's things and using it against them. Of course, inflicting damage with the Lionheart and then taking their stuff with Utopic Future. Things that normally you won't be able to attack over, maybe Dullahan wasn't enough to attack over it. You just take it, use it against them, give it back, and then go on from there. Okay, we also play some rank 4 monsters, actually. We play 1 copy of Castel, the Sky Blaster Musketeer, just because we have the Super Agent, so might as well add some rank 4s just for the potential toolboxing. And next off, we also run 1 copy of Tornado Dragon to pop some spell and trap cards. Yeah, so that's always really nice to have, especially because you can do it during either player's turn, you know, pop your opponent's field spells and all that good stuff. So yeah, that does it for the XYZ monsters. Next off, we're going to go into the Synchros. Okay, so for the Synchro, starting off, we were playing 1 copy of Naturia Beast, of course, because Super Agent with the Glow Bulb can easily make Naturia Beast, which locks out like half of your opponent's deck, because most people are playing a very spell-heavy based deck right now, with Zodiacs, with things like True Dracos with their field spells, and all that good stuff. Okay, the next card that we play, I actually don't have 1 copy right now, but I'll be getting it soon, is 1 copy of Coral Dragon. I really do love Coral Dragon as a card. It is a level 6 tuner monster, and you can actually discard 1 card to target 1 card that your opponent controls and destroy it, which is really nice for 1, filling up our graveyard, and 2, just like getting rid of some things. And if this card leaves the field and is sent to the graveyard, you can actually draw 1 card. So that's always really nice. And how you get it off the field is actually you synchro with it, because it's a level 6 tuner monster. You can synchro with like any level 1 monster that you potentially have. Most likely it's going to be something like a quick fix, because you bring it back off big red. And then you'll actually go for an Ancient Fairy Dragon. Now, Ancient Fairy Dragon is really good in this deck, because you can actually, once per turn, special summon 1 level 4 lower monster from your hand, even though you lose your battle phase from that. But usually you do this on your first turn to set up anyway. And it has this really good effect where you can destroy all field spells on the field right now, and then you gain 1,000 life points, and then you can add 1 field spell from your deck to your hand. So this allows you to search for more resorts, and this allows you to go for set up a SPYRAL Sleeper on your first turn. There's a really easy combo to set up your SPYRAL Sleeper. But yeah, that's it for the Synchro cards. Next off, we're going to go into the Fusions. So for the fusion, starting off, we're playing 1 copy of Thousand Eyes Restrict. Thousand Eyes Restrict is great for removal. You know, you instant fusion it out, target something your opponent controls, equip it to it, and then you can actually overlay with this card for a rank 1 play, and then the monster that's equipped to it just gets destroyed and sent to the graveyard, so that's always really nice. Spot removal and a free body on the field, essentially, so really good for those plays. Next off, we play 1 Lyrilusc Independent Nightingale. This is one of the ways that you can easily help you swarm the field with Lyrilusc by putting a winged beast monster onto your side of the field. It's also just good to just burn your opponent for 500 damage or so, but it's also really great to use for some rank 1 plays. Of course, you bring these out with instant fusion. Really easy, just pay 1,000 life points to get a free monster. Now, the last card that we play, the tech that I play in this deck, is one copy of Sea Monster of Theseus. Now, I don't play Gofu in the main deck because I don't really want this to be like a whole full-out Spiral deck, but one copy of Sea Monster of Theseus is actually really easy to help you make your Coral Dragon. Now, Sea Monster of Theseus is a level 5 tuner monster, so if you use this and like a Quick Fix or any other level 1 monster, you can easily make your Coral Dragon, which is a level 6 Synchro, and then you can, you know, big red that Quick Fix back from your graveyard, and then go for your Ancient Fairy Dragon and go for additional searches and all that good stuff. So Sea Monster of Theseus is a really good card to have, and in testing I really like it. So yeah, that does it for the extra deck, and that does it for the deck profile. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, please leave a like, subscribe for more Lyrical Lucinia content, and leave a comment down below letting me know what I can do to improve. And until next time, take care.